Grand rising, everyone. Natalie coming to you live, Spirit and Coffee. Got my coffee here. Yum. Again, drinking it dark black. Yum. Oh, so good. All right. Let's get started. So I will have my friend who's going to be coming on. She's part of my program. So I met her in the Consciousness Transformative Studies program at JFKU. And I believe she might be further in. I'll have to ask her when she joins, but we'll wait for her to join and I'll just start. I have been talking about lately, we see in popular media, I don't necessarily look at popular media, as you guys know, but it is kind of telling when we see popular media because it trends, and I always feel like it's really important when it comes to looking at trends to make sure that people are getting the information, so that they can start to look at, what's going on, what's happening, and how do we change the dialogue in our brains or understand what's going on, from a better perspective instead of, fighting and battling with people. Because again, alchemy is, it's the process of transformation, but it's for spiritual, what they call spiritual enlightenment or transcendence, or turning your soul into pure light, or your body, or however you want to describe it. Okay. You get what I'm saying? So when we look at that, we see that in popular media, what's going on. There's the case of these men who are in Hollywood, that are getting beaten up and battered by women. Um, and people are creating memes and all this stuff. They throw around words, but remember, words create, and some people don't even know what these words mean. And so they're doing, good morning, Sorrow. um, they're throwing around these words. So I saw this meme, right? That was like, oh, this is the case of, or this is what toxic femininity looks like. Now I went on my personal page to talk about it because I'm like, look, you guys, just because of gender, and this is the big issue now. We do have differences in terms of, our anatomy, and we do have differences in terms of the way our hormones actually secrete. But and there's Pam, and I'll bring her in. Um, but when we're talking about feminine and masculine energies, right? And what that means, let's talk about the sacred feminine and masculine. And what does that sacred feminine and masculine mean? Hey, Pam.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. So I was just going over some stuff. But um the sacred feminine, sacred masculine are just basically the energy potentials that live within us. And so those potentials, we have to consummate them. And that's part of the spiritual alchemic processes, right? The consummation of the sacred feminine and masculine internally. What does that look like? So when we talk about toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, and we throw that term around based on gender and behavior, it's incorrect. It's not a gender thing, because a person, a woman, can actually embody toxic masculinity, okay, or energy potentials that are not good, and that would still be toxic masculinity and not femininity. So putting gender on it, what it does is it makes us see ourselves separate, and then it causes conflict. And so I wanted to say something about that because we see that happening in popular media, people throwing around these memes. They don't necessarily know what the hell they're talking about. And so just, go look it up for yourself. That's what I highly encourage you to do, because it's deeper than that, and it's embedded in the individual, and we all have these potentials, energy potentials. And when we understand that, we can start to live a little closer to our authentic self. Okay, so that was a mouthful. Thanks, Pam, for showing up. I was like, I'm just gonna get started and start. I wanted to talk about that the other day. Um, so Pam, you want to introduce yourself and how I know you?
Hi, great. I'm Tam. I go to school with Natalie through JFK University. So it's been a couple of years. We've had a lot of the same classes and same mindset around alchemy.
Yeah.
like, so it's been pretty interesting, getting to know like the school community, I guess, through that connection.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me this, what year are you
But I
in?
loved what you're talking
Oh,
about.
go ahead.
No, sorry. No, I loved what you're talking about though with the masculine and the feminine. That's just great though, like because I find I'm doing shadow work again, and I spent all winter on my inner masculine and like my inner masculine child, kind of going up into adulthood.
Mhm.
So it was eye opening perspective. Realizing just even my attachment bonds to my parents, from like a feminine energy and a masculine energy to my mother and my father. So I mean, it's so complex. And then we're like the weekend of Beltane with that cosmic, union and marriage of the god and goddess. So I'm so excited. Like that's what I'm going in to celebrate. So it's just like perfect timing.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, and we see it because we're looking at like for me, I don't look at popular media, but somehow this Johnny Depp trial showed up on my thing and I started kind of I
Yeah.
got drawn in because I love Johnny Depp, right? So I'm like I love the movies he's done, and I've had a crush on everything. Everybody's had a crush on Johnny Depp. I don't know. But anyway, I was like I have to look at this trial,
Right.
right? And so for me, I don't follow popular media, but it's popular and it's everywhere. And then I saw these memes show up and I'm like, oh man. And I always have to say something. I'm like, let me educate individuals about what it means to just throw out these memes that say, oh, this is a toxic femininity. No, it's not. You don't even know what's going on with her internally. So you can't really say or diagnose what it is just because she's a female who's behaving in a certain way. Well, we hold those potentials inside of us, the masculine and feminine energies. And so what does that
Yeah.
mean, right? Like you we've got to at least educate people so they understand what they're talking about. But I feel it's a result of really toxic masculinity that's been forced upon us, um, not just women but men as well.
Hmm.
So that energy has not been, and it
Yeah.
gets to heal on both sides, right? Both the feminine and masculine. So that's why I was talking about it, and that's why it came up for me because I'm like, you know, if I can educate people, they can do a little bit of research and then find out for themselves. Um, so Oh, so my question was like, what year are you in the program? You're almost, I think you're further ahead than I am, if I'm correct.
Um, yeah, I'm finishing the CTS program. Actually, I just have one class. My final life
Oh,
coaching class
what?
comes up for just the month of May. Yeah, so I actually should have graduated last fall, and I said no. Like I want to stay in. Let me get the life coaching certification because I had taken a couple of classes, and it really clicked. Like, oh, this is where I should be. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what I want to do with my career path. In a sense, is like that life coaching because coming from like a high school teacher, it was the same thing. I was seeing like all these, issues with these teenagers and then being a mom as well. It's like, why are we not? So like, I don't know. I just completely altered paths there. And so now I'm like, yeah, if I can teach people, like you're saying, if I can teach them this. So I just started the trauma program back in the winter months. So that'll add on a year to my graduation date. So,
Oh, okay. Okay.
but the trauma study, yeah, that's been really, really interesting.
Oh,
Because coming
wow.
from the place of like a healer, you know what I mean, and like researching consciousness and like you know what I mean, like the way that we're psychologically built. Like there's just like you're saying, these toxic traits, like they're there for a reason. You're born with them for a reason. You know what I mean? Like it's not just something that happens to you, but it's the purpose of like your soul and why you're here to be human and what you're supposed to learn and let go of and expand and evolve and heal. So yeah, it's been a great program. I don't want to leave, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's we've built a community. Hi, Nightfire. We've built a community within, that's our community. And so how do we and that's kind of what we were trying to do is build a community afterwards. How do we connect and stay connected because we are the ones who are sort of creating the narrative and dialogue that's to come. And that's why I try to telling people on my
Yeah.
podcast, we've got to create the narratives. The system is going to eventually, things change. This system won't last forever, and we see it historically, right, in different ancient history, right, tells
Yeah.
us, and it repeats itself, that Rome fell. So all of these Greece, if we look around, the pyramids, Egypt, all of that, everything, every
Mhm.
empire finally had its
Oh yeah.
final descent. And we eventually are going to have our descent. And what does it look like after, right? How do we reconstruct? Well, that's what I try to get people to
Right.
understand too here, is like, we are the ones who are going to be the creators of that narrative. Good morning, Christina. And that's what we need to understand, is how to do that, right? What do we do? How do we transition through? um and you're absolutely right. I think the biggest piece that was taken out of some of these narratives is, how do you deal with trauma? How do you deal with the what we call the grungies? That's what we used to call it in our transformational workshop. Like these negative emotions, or these emotions that they told us to just shut off, that they were bad for us. Just be happy,
Mhm.
just be this. We know that doesn't work. That's like
Yeah.
BS, right? And so those dark
Yeah.
emotions were not ever honored, are given. Hey Kumar, how are you? So given, the opportunity to shift. So I think that that's wonderful that you're doing that. And congratulations for actually,
Mm.
yeah, I have about a year and a half to go in the program. So but it is a very eye-opening program, and we have some amazing people. I try to
Mm.
get people from our on here all the time. I'm like, "Come on the podcast, just do it." Um, and I know, right? Because you guys all everybody has their own little unique way
Yeah.
of contributing, and I don't know anything. I mean, I'm always learning, I learn every time I
Mm.
hear people talk. Um, so congratulations and awesome. So I have a another question. um, so I know that you are, and kind of what we got on here for is that you kind of like astrology. You're into the stars. You kind of look at what's going on in the
Mm.
cosmos, which is awesome. Um, do you want to give us kind of an
Yeah.
update as what's going on, or what you think's happening, and then maybe do some reading?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
No, I would love to. Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah, so it's been kind of quiet for a little while, astrologically speaking, and now we're kind of gearing up again, for more intense energy. So obviously, like with April and everything, we just started off in Erie season with a brand new, astrological year. I know, like, our cultural would kind of think of like January to December, but when you look at the zodiac, it's not aligned in the same way. And each, culture has done it different based on the zodiac. But yeah, so we just had our first like full moon and our first like new moon, and we're actually about to have our second moon, new moon phase for this month, which is kind of rare when you have like two in a month,
Okay.
and it's lining up with eclipse season. Um, yeah, so and plus it's Beltane, which we were just talking about, that cosmic wedding of the gods and the goddesses. So and that we're in the middle of spring now, so fertility, life is really starting to flourish. And with eclipse season, so we'll have a partial solar eclipse first, and then I think with the full moon is the partial lunar eclipse, coming up in like 2 weeks after, into May. So really, it's just, they say like eclipses are destiny. Like it will alter your life. They go in like 6 months, so they go together. So it's almost like a portal energy of like, door opening. You're inside for like 6 months, and then it like shifts with like the next eclipse. So
Ooh.
it's really interesting. I feel like it definitely messes with your sleep and your dreams. Like it makes it more intense, or it just throws off your schedule. Um, Ancient cultures used to believe for every minute of the eclipse, like you would be impacted for like a year. So back when we had that Great American eclipse, I think in 2018. It was a 3 minute, like, total blackout that the US hadn't seen for like 100 years. That was like a really powerful kind of time when you look at that, a couple of years after that, what we've gone through. In a sense,
Oh,
it kind of can, like you
really?
said earlier, when you study history and you look at the past, it
Uh-huh.
kind of lets you know when things line up again and when they happen, you know what to expect. So Pluto is about to go retrograde, and he, being the outer planet, is more of like the collective, so that's where it impacts like our paradigms and our structures, our governments, those, secrets and the underworld and sexuality. So those things, they can only stay in the dark for so long before, boom, the light shines on it. That's why in the past we've had, like the Me Too movement around like some Jupiter energy. Um, but yeah, so it's like so much. But I would just say right now, with especially this upcoming weekend, it's definitely just the intensity of the eclipse. So if you're feeling like dehydrated and exhausted and run down, or your life is completely like falling apart, it's just altering your course to kind of get you more aligned with your destiny.
When
So
isn't
don't
our life
panic. It's
falling
going to be okay.
apart? We're always in
But
retrograde. That's what I know.
I know.
Everybody.
I know.
So I don't,
Like,
because
when is this like long tower moment going to be over?
I know it's like, oh my God, we're always in something's on
Yeah.
retrograde. Is there ever a planet that's in retrograde where it's a good thing? It's like, no.
Well, Venus, like every year and a half. And so we just went, through that from December to January. And that really impacts like finances and
Oh, shit.
relationships. So, like, I felt like that was a really positive, for me at least, this past one. Um, but
Okay.
Mercury retro is coming in now. People are usually afraid of that,
Yeah. So I
because
hear.
electronics and just everything falls apart.
And you know what? It,
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Mercury's the rough one.
And it makes sense, right? Never fails. Okay, let's see what this says. Nightfire said something, and this is on the vocal. And tell me, Nightfire, I guess you can hear her pretty well, correct? Never fails in the east of Canada. We can tell when it's a full moon because of how the people are acting in town. Be it slow reaction times, foggy thoughts. Yeah, okay, good. So Nightfire's like, I know about this stuff. I don't
Yeah,
typically talk about,
yeah,
this is your specialty, which is awesome. And I'd love to have you on here like more often because I think that for me, I'm learning a lot too,
yeah.
and you're teaching me, and I'm like, oh wow, so I can learn all how the planets impact us. But it makes sense because they're celestial bodies, and I don't think people give um they see the planets
Mhm.
and everything from a more scientific lens rather than these celestial bodies that are have an impact on
Yeah,
our psyche, on our body, we're all interconnected to it, and they don't see,
right.
you know how it's gone. Academia's kind of
Exactly.
separated us from that understanding,
Yeah,
which it makes sense if there's
yeah.
solar flares going on. Of course, it's going to impact us, right? We're connected to the sun in so many ways, and if planets are being pulled, our atmosphere is going to
Mhm.
change. And so people think it's this like mystical woo woo crap, but really there is an impact in our body that actually starts to happen when these bodies are
Yeah.
moving about. um, so that's pretty awesome. And so you said that the lunar or the solar, it was a solar eclipse that happened in 2018, was a 3-year solar eclipse or 3 minute, I'm sorry. What did you say about that solar eclipse in 2017 or 2018 you said?
Yeah, that they called it like the Great American Eclipse.
Uh-huh.
I think it. Yeah, I think it was August. I'm pretty sure it was 2018.
Okay. So 1920. So you would say that maybe the that was kind of like a forecast for probably the whole pandemic issue and all that kind of stuff? Was it or how is it related? Could it be like that kind of stuff showed up or
Um, yeah, definitely. I like, because like you were talking about with civilizations that fall apart.
yes.
Um, there's like a lag or something. That's just throwing me off. But like right now, one of the beliefs is like Pluto. Some of the transitions that Pluto has made is it's kind of like our death of America. You know what I mean? Like it is the end of our kind of paradigm. So it happens in like stages. So I do see the eclipse kind of being one of those like for like foundational shifts that kind of put the crack in everything. And we have spent the last few years like just navigating that collapse, I think.
So it's kind of like the precursor to what was to come or what is to come.
Um, yeah, I definitely feel like it's a rebuild. We're gonna have to like just the systems, the education system, the like political system, capitalism. Um,
Yep.
I feel like even with global kind of consciousness of Gaia, like trying to protect Mother Earth,
Yep.
People are waking up to that and realizing they want to live more sustainable, having healthier food, not relying on, mass production, like chemicals, that you're putting into your body. So,
Mhm. So I love that. And it's funny because I come to these conclusions in a very different way, right? We all have our own kind of unique way. And that's kind of what I tell my viewers, my listeners, that we all have it within us. There's nothing special. It's just you have to tap into your energy and not you're not it's not going to look the same as everybody else. Like for me, I'm clairvoyant. Like I just feel it in my body. I can foresee it. I can and I don't have so I use other indicators to get to the same conclusion, but there's always these indicators that show up and if you're aware of them, if your mind is open to it, you're going to receive the message. The message doesn't always come the same way to every individual. So it's kind of cool because I'm constantly talking about the shift. I think about 4 years ago when I started this podcast, I got on because I'm like, you guys, something's coming, you need to wake up, right? Like I kept saying, wake up, wake up, wake up. And you'll go back 4 years and you'll hear me talk about I didn't know what it was that was happening. I just knew it was. I could feel it. I knew it. And that's a result of clairvoyance or people would say prophecy or whatever, but it's just patterning, right? Like there's patterns that give us that indication about what's to come. So the patterns exist in our own psyche, even in our own internal world. And if we know ourselves, we can figure out what the pattern is. But externally, as above, so below, we do see the pattern happening externally as well, and in the celestial bodies that are around us as well, which is kind of cool because it totally aligns with what I was saying. But it gives me a better way to communicate it or say, you see the planets, this is what they equate to. Now we see this is what's happening. And the paradigm that is shifting, right? The paradigm being the most important piece, I think paradigms we know are they come and go and we've gone through whatever postmodern modern postmodern postmodern they're like let's go postmodern and now we're in these new ways
yeah.
of trying to understand the world. What do you in terms of okay, so let me ask you this in terms of the paradigm portion, what do you think it's out of just being in these classes and kind of understanding the different paradigms that are arising, what do you think's about to happen? What do you think's a good so I don't want to say the best solution, but a good solution for individuals like to transition into in terms of their consciousness and like what paradigms they can look at?
Well, like we were talking earlier with, what science kind of taught us from like 100 years ago is that everything is dead. We look into space and planets are just dead or whatnot. I think like part of that awakening into our paradigm is realizing that there's more of a constant livelihood. to the universe, to like plants, to trees. Even people who work with like crystals. Like we know crystals have an energetic exchange that they vibrate and they're alive. We use crystals in like Alchemy and microwaves and computers. So there's definitely knowledge there. But I see it more as like a deck, I guess, integrated. Instead of thinking we're like a dead machine that's a million different parts and pieces, like you said, it's that unity. We're realizing that everything's connected. We're connected as a collective humanity. Doesn't matter if we're here or China or South America, like we're all in that web. And that ripple wave kind of goes out. So what is impacted here gets impacted over here, and quantum physics really is starting to show that. But quantum physics like hurts the brain though. I don't know like how soon some of that will catch on in the normal, everyday community at least, because I remember just studying the quantum stuff and like my brain literally hurt inside my skull. But it's really fascinating though when you look at it metaphorically of how like this is what space is doing, like you look at it metaphorically in a sense, and then you can see like the truth. But yeah, I think the paradigms is really like first we have to heal. Like we have to build a foundation where we heal the generational traumas that came before us. Because all we're doing is like tacking on and adding on to like all of that. And that's why we keep seeing, stuff that happens in the streets where people, protest or riot or whatnot. Because there's still wounds. There's still, especially like in some parts of this country, like where people feel like diversity is still a massive issue, like you can't really move on and build and create something new when you're hurting inside and when you feel underappreciated and not valued. And so I feel like we have to heal our generational wounds to come together and be able to like create what's next, which is more peace and harmony. And the pandemic, I think, showed that because people look how much they quit their jobs. They realized how miserable they were. They wanted time with family. They wanted time to live their own life, not to feel drained. Like that, like the pandemic, I know it was horrible and it sucked, but it did have a purpose, like to kind of wake us up to what life could be. You don't have to go sit in a 9 to 5 building. And I think that's kind of where we're going. Like community, like we're trying to do, like you talked about.
Yeah. I absolutely love what you said. That we have to heal the generational trauma before we can, that we need to start there, and the healing is important. And it's funny because I'm taking human development. No, it's the diversity class, and that's what we were talking about. I'm taking both, but the diversity class was talking about, do you believe that the wounds need to be, and I'm like, that's a very altruistic way to think though, because we know throughout history, I'm not saying it's not possible, I just don't know if people are willing to do the work behind it. And that to me, I think it's kind of hard, right? Like people have to be willing to go there. And as you know, Pam, it's not easy work. And that's why I do these podcasts. I'm like, it's not
Yeah.
easy to heal those traumas. It's not easy to go through this shadow. It's not easy to, people think enlightenment,
Yeah.
the road to enlightenment is this glorified thing, and it's not glorified. I mean, look at the past sages and gurus and prophets and saviors and whatever you want to call them. They went through a life of hell before they reached their peak of enlightenment. And so it's not fun, but it's worth it. Why? Because then we leave this legacy for the generations to come, right? The wisdom. And so but I think that you're absolutely correct in that we need to heal. And that actually is a bit, that was a, for me, I'm going, yeah, that's right. I didn't think of it that way, because until we heal, how can we accept this new way of being? We don't even know how to accept it. And what I think, and this is kind of my work that I want to do moving forward, is how do we make sure that people have a voice in what's to be created, because you're just going to have those individuals who are ahead of the game, know what's going on, and they start to construct, and then it's just like, oh wow, you just accept what we give you because nobody was able to catch up. They're so traumatized from the last go round, that they don't know. They just
Yeah.
don't know. They don't have an idea. They're like, people don't know. Even scholars, I keep telling people, like, we know because we're in this program. We know because we're the seekers that nobody knows what the hell's going on. Nobody does. Cosmologists, because of quantum physics, which is another, I love quantum physics, by the way. That's kind of I nerd out to that kind of stuff. Not that I know how to do it, but I can understand it a little bit. um, that when we look at the quantum world and we look at the cosmology and we talk about science, you know, um, you literally can't trick, I say you can't trick God, because that's what they're trying to do, and now they're going, "Holy shit, we don't know what's going on." And they don't know. So scientists don't know right now, and they're freaking out because now they have to admit that they don't know, and now they're trying to go back to the drawing board and trying, and they don't know what the narrative looks like, because science said we were, and I loved what you said, dead machines, that we're just a machine, and that's the mechanistic worldview that we have right now and that we live in. We live in a paradigm of a mechanistic worldview that says we're like machines, and we know we're not, that there's something deeper there. And so now they're trying to reintegrate the mysticism back into, they use mystic language and narratives and symbols to describe quantum physics, because they don't have a language that can describe or explain what the hell is going on in quantum mechanics. Same for cosmology. They're having to redesign and reconstruct. So nobody knows what the hell is going on. So when I say that, I'm not just saying people are confused. I'm saying science now is confused. They don't know what to do. And then religion's going, well, we told you, but then there's these scientific facts, and now we don't know how to rectify. And I think you said to integrate. There are some paradigms like integral practices that, are living systems, are some paradigms. I personally like living systems because it, to me, is the closest thing to spiritual alchemy. It's the closest, I think, a paradigm that it honors nature and systems. And that's, what we are. We're a system. We're not a machine. It's different. We have a system running through us. So, and we're living, breathing systems. We're not just a dead machine, damn it. um, so thank you. Thank you for your insight. You're so wise. I love it. And you have a different way of describing
No
it.
problem. Thank you.
Huh? Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely have a different perspective, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I love it. I think it's perfect. It's we and that's why this is important for all people who are doing this work to speak up. That's why I say speak up. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be part of no program. You are a spiritual creature being. You are human. You have a voice and you have an experience and wisdom, and share that, because that's what's important. That's what we're going to need, because no one knows what the hell they're doing or talking about. That's just the reality. And and science will tell you that.
Yeah.
They'll say we don't know. They're going to tell you, you can go to a quantum physicist, ask them if they know. They're going to say no, we don't. We have no clue. And so so we're at that point, right, where this new paradigm, this new energy, this new narrative needs to start to surface. And we're looking for that, and we learn that through our program. Um so tell me this, what do you plan to do? And then you could do, maybe pull a card, but what do you plan to do with all of this stuff that you're doing? Do you have a podcast? Do you have, like, where can people follow you? How do they get a hold of you if they want to follow you or be a part of what you're up to?
Um, well, I'm just starting out in a sense, because I've been doing so much of my own shadow work and trying to gain the confidence to do everything and not be considered crazy. But no, I created Glinda's School of Alchemy, as a because like I said, as a former teacher, that was really my eye opener. Having teenagers that had anxiety and all of these emotional kind of problems, and then seeing as a public school system what is supposed to be taught and what can't really be taught, and so I'm a teacher at heart, so I definitely want to teach people. But with the life coaching, I would like to have clients. I've definitely helped a few people. But that's where I really want to expand, is having my own business, doing the life coaching, so I can work one on one with people that want to do shadow work, just want to set goals to empower their lives, and maybe understand spirituality. So using astrology and the cards, I feel like that kind of helps us stay connected to the spiritual and kind of understand it's bigger than us. You know what I mean? And it's helped me in my own life, because then I can realize oh, I'm just feeling this way because astrologically right now this is happening, and I'm supposed to be triggered to feel this way. So I just really want to help other people kind of learn and explore that and understand how to use it in their own life. And then creating groups and workshops, to be able to do we're doing here, just having a discussion and a lecture, being able to talk about okay, what is generational trauma? How do I fit into generational trauma? How do I heal that? So having topics on those things, as well as I created a workshop around dream studies and how to get a better relationship with your dreams, and then that uses some creative art and ritual practice. So I have a multitude of ideas and concepts to just help people kind of have a more spiritual and fulfilling life. So yeah, Glinda School of Alchemy. I just started a YouTube page. I only have a few videos on there, and then I have the Facebook page. So just kind of my baby steps to
Hey, that's
getting out
good.
there.
That's how it starts,
But
right? Baby steps. Glinda's School of
yeah,
Alchemy, which I love, and it has the word alchemy in it, which I
yeah,
love. You guys know me; I'm a spiritual alchemist.
yeah.
So, and I love it
Yeah,
because this
because
work.
that's what you're doing realistically for your own soul. You're cleaning out the darkness and all that heavy lead, and you're turning yourself into gold.
Yes,
I feel like even that metaphor of alchemy sometimes throws people off, but really it's about what you're doing to your own inner light. You're getting rid of that dense darkness, and you're shining bright of your more soul vibration, like you said, the authentic.
yeah. Well, and that's where alchemy started. It was all spiritual, right? And then I say they bastardized it, but and that's what put us
Yeah,
into this science mind where everything became a materialistic worldview and all that stuff. Anyway, I go on my soapbox all the time. Obviously, this is this is Natalie's spiritual alchemy soapbox, and so just kidding. No, it's really designed to support others too. But I do sometimes just go on and on and on because if people understood that it is about us, it we are the gold. Gold, that's another thing that I say is really, we don't eat gold. If we really thought about gold, gold is air, right? Our gold is really oxygen. We need oxygen because we can't live without it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we'll die.
mm,
That's really our gold. So really, gold
right,
is not our gold.
right,
Or what we label as gold, right? And then water, right? So it's the second thing. So it's all the elements that we need to
yeah,
survive: earth, water, air, fire, right? We need all those things to survive. We need the sun to survive or we would die. So really, where we place our gold, and what we value, is not this materialistic gold. That gold itself maybe had a significance for energy and whatever it did, but the reality is we could totally live fine without it. If it didn't exist, I know we use it for computers and all this other stuff, but the reality is all we need to survive is water, air, earth, fire, and and then maybe shelter, from
yep,
to protect us. And literally that's all we would need. Seriously. So you're right. It is alchemy is about us. It is the
yeah,
transcendence of the soul. It is us getting through that shadow and, like you said, turning our lead, maybe those heavy metals in our body. Maybe part of it's just extracting those heavy metals from our body too, right? Um as well. So I totally,
right,
yes, I totally agree with you. Let's see what this person said. No water, broke too. Things have got to be heading in a positive direction. Awesome. I agree. It takes a lot of work to be a cycle breaker, but it can also be rewarding, especially for the future. Absolutely super hard. Thanks, Christina. Thank you guys for chiming in. But you can find her at Glinda's School of Alchemy. That's cute. I do have a question. Is it Glinda the Good Witch? I may not be, and I'm totally probably off, but I loved The Wizard of Oz was my favorite movie. And all I can think of is Glinda. Although that's probably not what it is. But can you tell us what Glinda is? Or why Glinda? Or what does that mean? Or is that your name? Tell me.
Oh, Glinda?
Yes.
That's the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz.
It is Glinda. Oh,
Yeah,
it is.
so
Yay. Okay. I love
yeah,
it.
Wizard of Oz, they definitely believe in like you were talking earlier, signs and patterns from the universe. So the Wizard of Oz has been a massive journey I've had to go on. And I feel like I went from Dorothy being lost, trying to find her way home, to now being Glinda, like the good witch who's gonna teach, Dorothy and her companions how to find their way home now. So
That is my favorite. That was my favorite movie growing up too. So we have a lot in common, sister. And yes, I
I
am
hated
Dorothy
that
as well.
movie as a kid.
Oh, did you hate it? Oh, it was my favorite movie. I love that movie. And
I
I do.
hated it.
And that's hilarious. I loved it. And of course I was Dorothy, but I was Dorothy yeah, trying to find her way home. And there's a lot of esoteric, I don't know if you know, but that whole thing was based in commerce. I can go on for days about how that storyline was constructed. The straw man being the dead entity, all these
Yeah.
things that are related into
Oh
commerce
yeah.
and stuff, which is kind of crazy. And then actually finding out who you are and that home is always with you. But okay, so I love it. So I was like, I wonder if it's like Glinda, because that's all I keep thinking about is Glinda. Um, so kind of cool. Okay, so I love. So there's a reason we're talking. I love the Wizard of Oz. um, I love it too, and Alice in Wonderland. Yes. So Glinda the Good Witch. I love that Glinda School of
Oh
Alchemy. It's
yeah.
very cute.
Always going down that rabbit hole.
I know. I should be like Alphaba's School of Alchemy. I don't know if you've ever seen Wicked. Um, have you ever seen Wicked? The it's like the story of the Wicked Witch. Have you watched it? Yeah. You would might change your mind about
I
your
don't
name.
think so.
You might change your mind about Alphaba. They call her Alphaba in the storyline. You'll have to watch it. It's all alchemy. I love it. Okay, anywho. All right, so we'll close this by
Okay.
we'll close this by if you want, do you want to draw a card and tell us what a card is and then we will wrap it up. So she's gonna do a card. She does oracle cards. She does tarot too, so do I, but she does oracle cards mostly. She said. So I think she's gonna pull oracle cards for
Yeah,
us.
I will pull one. Let's see.
What deck are you
Collective
using?
message. Yeah, kind of. All right. So I have the Shaman's Dream.
Ooh, Shaman's Dream. Love it.
Oracle, which is one I like. So I just pulled a collective card about the eclipse. We were talking about eclipse energy earlier, kind of what to expect. So this one, it's funny. It's about protecting the future. Dragon's Sword.
Ooh, let me see that. Show that again. Can you show that up again?
Let me see. So in this one, it just talks about jewels and precious objects scattered the ground, while ancient scrolls inscribed with the wisdom teachings lie within reach. This is a rich opportunity, and you can fill your satchel with treasures you like best. Take gifts offered to you and dedicate them to the well-being of all, beginning with your own. But beware, all that glitters is not gold. Select the precious treasures that will further your spiritual growth and avoid the shiny objects that are empty of real value. Know that the hoard does not belong to you, it belongs to our grandchildren. What is the inheritance that you wish to leave for tomorrow? What seeds are you planting that you will harvest in your old age when you are weary? What seeds will bear fruit after you are no longer here? The dragon guards the legacy of the future. All who come empty handed or to fill only their own pockets with gold lie in a dusty heap of bones. You have been allowed entrance by virtue of your kindness on your spiritual practice or sheer luck. Consider as well that your present, this moment, is the dragon, the future of the dragon. You may be the one we have all been waiting for, so do not hesitate to take what the quest has been reserved for you since the beginning of time. This is a time to be bold. Don't delay or overthink. Remember to bring an offering for the dragon, lest it believe you are its lunch. A simple prayer will do. Um, so as I was reading that, it kind of reminds me of our whole conversation in a sense where we're talking about the paradigm shift, like what are we creating for the future? And eclipse season being that destiny shift shaper. So I think that really kind of resonates with that whole conversation. It's about having intention with your life. What are you taking from the earth now, and what are you planting and leaving, for when you're not here,
Yeah.
So
And it also talks about
I
the.
don't know, it resonated with you or anything, but
Oh, absolutely. And it exactly what you said. And on top of that, it says don't focus on the material stuff, which we just talked about. The alchemy is within you. And you've got to
right.
we've got to look at ourselves and what we bring to the table and how we bring that to the table as well. But yes, absolutely the transformation, the paradigms, everything we talked about, of course, the card's going to sum it up because that's the way this works. People don't know how
Yeah.
cards work. That's just the way they work. Um, can you put it up on the screen just one more time, the card, so I can see, just for the
Oh yeah.
people? Okay, so it's like this cosmic dragon. He's holding a purple, what is that, a universe?
Yep.
And there's keys and it's blue and purple and it's the universe
Yeah, it looks like a little tiny universe with the keys hanging.
with the keys hanging. So that's what it is. It's beautiful. If you guys want to see the real one, you could go to my live Facebook page and see my face. I tell people you can go to my live page and see my big old face. Um, but there you have it. So I think what a great way. Thank you, Pam, so much for showing up. I would love to have you more often. I mean, I think it would be awesome to have you on here.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you provide a different language and way of describing sort of some of the stuff that I do, but from a different way, a different perspective. And I think it's always good to have that because we all kind of use different language, right? We don't have a common language that we've agreed on in this new
Yeah.
paradigm. So everybody kind of uses their own understanding of it.
Right.
Um, and, again, Pam's perspective, which I love, it's very eloquent and beautiful. Um, around the astrological
Mm.
aspect of it, which is really cool. Really, really cool. I have a lot to learn from you, sister. Okay, so there you have it, Glinda's School of Alchemy. I will see you
Thank you.
guys. You're welcome. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastical Wednesday, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Bye bye.